Good afternoon, everybody. I think there's still a few people joining, but we'll also kind of get rolling along. This is the May edition of the 2024 U of R Alumni Effect series. So welcome to that. I will say I'm hoping once we're kind of through the first part of the conversation that will be pretty informal. We're not a massive group, so feel free to ask questions and such as we go. My name is Jim Farney. I'm the director of the Regina campus of the Johnson Shariama Graduate School of Public Policy, and so it's great to be with you today chatting with one of our alumni. But before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the University of Regina is situated. I'm on Treaty 4 here in Regina. Of course, we also work on Treaty 6. This is the traditional homelands of the Nayoak, Anishinaabeg, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota, and homeland of the Métis Nation. Often when I do a land acknowledgement, I like to say something concrete about the work that we're doing together for reconciliation, but I know that so much of the work that Northwest College does is tied to that and serves that demographic, so I'll leave that for today. This session will be recorded, and you can post or point people towards the video after we're done if you'd like. But it's a pleasure to introduce our guest today, Dr. Eli Ahlquist, who is president of Northwest College. He graduated from the U of R in 2011 with an MPA, so Masters of Public Administration, which is our connection. He's very committed to advancing educational opportunities for First Nations, Métis, and rural populations, and has really made that a focal point of his career. He has worked as Dean for Health and Human Services at Keyano College in Alberta, and is currently the president at Northwest College, which has a number of campuses across Saskatchewan's Northwest, but his biggest centers are in North Battleford and Meadow Lake. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his career path, which is not entirely conventional, if I can say that, and really is focused on rural education, which I find fascinating. I mentioned, as we were chatting early on, I started my own university career at a college in rural Alberta, and so I'm keen to hear about what that story looks like in Saskatchewan. He has about a 15-minute presentation telling his story. I have a few questions if we turn out to be a quiet group for after that, but I hope very much, as I said, to kind of just have a conversation. We're a group of 15 or 20 today, and I think we can be pretty conversational with ourselves after Dr. Ahlquist has walked us through things. So I'll turn it over to him and welcome you all here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim, and yeah, thanks everybody for joining the Zoom call here today. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I am an alumni from the U of R, the Masters of Public Administration program, which has been a fantastic piece of my educational puzzle to put together on my overall journey. But you know, before we I guess dive too much into that, just a bit about myself on the personal side of things. So I am I've got a large family. I've got 5 children that keep me very, very busy, and I have the best partner in the world. She keeps everybody in line and gets us to all of our sporting events and you know, different academic activities and things like that. So I really have to thank Jennifer for all her support of me and support of my career and the opportunities that come with that. So it's been great to do that. Like I said, I've got a fairly big family and quite a range of ages, from 13 all the way down to an 8-month-old as well. So it's great to be a part of all of those things. And on the you know, further just around some of the activities, kids are very active in sports, hockey, flag football, soccer, and other activities. So I'm hoping that we get some better weather here soon, so I can really enjoy being outside watching them compete in their athletics. So yeah.
How has your educational background kind of shaped the career path you're on now, shaped how it leads to your work advocating for expanding educational opportunities in First Nations and rural communities?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And As you mentioned at the outset of the presentation here today, it has been a bit of an unconventional journey for myself academically, and I'm very pleased to say that I'm a registered nurse is my primary background. I kind of started out my educational journey. I was an EMT and worked with the ambulance service for a little while, and I worked in rural Saskatchewan up and around Yorkton towards the Manitoba border. So got to have some really great experiences. But as I was working out there as a young man, I quickly realized that there weren't a lot of old paramedics around me. So I thought I needed to pursue some other academic avenues, and so that's what that led me into becoming a registered nurse. I wanted to stay in the healthcare field and looked to that as an opportunity. And so while I worked in healthcare as a registered nurse on completion of that degree program, which I did through SciUst and the University of Saskatchewan, so I was able to study in Regina while I was doing that. And it was again another really great opportunity, and it opened up a lot of doors to me. And I kind of started out thinking I wanted to be an emergency room nurse, and ended up pivoting and going into the operating room of all things, and found myself really quite enjoying that. And that opened up some doors for me to some different leadership opportunities. And so while I was working as an operating room nurse at the Regina General Hospital, I ended up stepping in more frequently into the interim manager role and covering the departments. And through that process, I got a pretty good taste of leadership, and got to manage those two ORs in Regina, and learned a heck of a lot about people and how to work together. And I'll be honest, that's probably one of the more challenging leadership pieces I've had in my life. But and simply because it's a lot of different people with competing interests. And if there's one thing you learn in your career is that there's a lot of different perspectives on problems and issues, and so you need to really look at it from a bunch of different perspectives to understand what's going on. And so through my time working as a nurse there, I quickly became excited about public policy, and looked to the opportunity to, with the intention of at least working in the Ministry of Health in some capacity, the opportunity to shape healthcare, and again, focus on those rural opportunities. And so that's what led me into the MPA program at the University of Regina, which was quite new at that time as well. It was just recently launched, and so it was a fantastic experience. Got really great instruction from a variety of different professionals with lots of great background and experience in government as well, in the public service. And so just kind of delving through that, and the pieces that came through that program, whether it was economics for public policy, looking at analysis, different budgeting pieces, and that it really provided a larger perspective on government and how activities happened. And so I did work for the Ministry of Health for a little while, but I quickly got bitten and moved over into education after, I think it was just under a year I was at the Ministry of Health. But really the foundational knowledge through that master's program was invaluable to me. It may sound a little bit silly, and Jim, you'll probably chuckle at this, but one of the most useful things I learned was being able to do a presentation in less than 10 minutes and to write a briefing note, because in my experience, when you're working with government, that's really all that you get sometimes, is a bit of an elevator pitch or a few minutes to talk to somebody. And so, starting the program, and you think of your undergrad and writing 40-page papers and things like that. And when you're asked to decant that down to maybe a 2-page briefing note with size 14 font and other things like that, it's quickly becomes a significant challenge. But the reason that I bring that up is it's been invaluable for me to interface and to work with government, and to understand that whether it's lobbying for additional funds for a particular program at Northwest College, or interfacing in other ways, how important it is to make that connection and to provide the background, the context, and the rationale. And another really big piece of the information that came through that was also learning that it may be the greatest idea, it could be the best option, but it needs to be a political decision sometimes at the end of the day. And as much as it may seem like it's a no-brainer to implement this wonderful policy or to fund a wonderful program, those pieces are really, there's a lot of different pressures pulling. And so that's where I would link this back to my experience running an operating room, where there's lots of different surgeons that were trying to get procedures done, and those competing interests, and there's a finite amount of resources, and so it's critical that those compromises are able to be made. But and so kind of just shifting a little bit on my education and doing the master's at the U of R, looking to my work currently with rural and First Nations communities. And at Northwest College, we do serve a student demographic that's about 61% First Nations. Our profile is also very much female learners that are, under 24. They might have a child or two, and so there's a lot of complexity that comes with that. And that's while it is complex and it can be challenging, it's also a very rewarding opportunity to look to creative solutions and creative ways to support people on their educational journey. And as I've shared with everybody here today, sometimes those journeys are a unique path, and they go places that you don't always expect them to go. And so that commitment and that opportunity to open those doors for others to learn is very, very important. And like I said, working through the MPA program, learning how government works, having the opportunity to work in government, it really set me up in a very strong position to be able to advocate and lobby and to lead a regional college in Saskatchewan for the success of the population that it serves. So,
I wonder. So the first part of your story, I'd like to say, is kind of the core business of JSGS, is taking people who've been ER nurses or policy analysts or teachers, and giving them an MPA or a Master's of Health Administration and helping them kind of in that kind of more policy leadership management type of role. I think you're the first of our alumni I've chatted with, though, who then made a second hop, I guess, into educational leadership and that piece. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about what led you into the college sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I was had the opportunity to work in the Ministry of Health, which again was absolutely tremendous, and it was a great learning experience for me to kind of move through. And so, you talked a little bit about those foundational skills and knowledge that came forward, and I think that's one of the real advantages of the Johnson Shoyama program, is it builds on existing knowledge. So, whether you're a nurse, a teacher, just whatever the professional background is, those skills quickly adapt and allow you to have success in a variety of areas. And so for me, that was looking to education as an opportunity. And so one of the areas that I was always keen on was health human resource planning, and looking to those opportunities of how to support the health system. Again, focusing on rural areas. There's a tremendous shortage of health professionals, as we know. The current government has a very large project underway with its health human resources, and so the opportunity to really engage with that side of the equation, as it were, to support learning and to provide that, where there's again a critical shortage of not just nurses but nursing educators as well. And so for me, the opportunity to step into a teaching side of the world was a bit different. It wasn't something that I set out on my career path for, but I can say I'm so grateful that opportunity came to me, and I had the opportunity to go over and to teach nurses as well. And so it was tremendously rewarding getting to work with individuals, impart the skills and knowledge that I had, and also provide that context moving forward. And so I taught for a little while, and moved into the academic administration side of the world as well at the colleges. And so those opportunities again dovetailed so nicely with my education and my experience from the ministry to be able to support various initiatives. So whether it's expanding nursing programs, working to promote and produce more paramedics, and even just looking to the opportunities to improve overall health in the different regions. We know education is a key driver of that. And so it was a little unexpected to move over into education. Like I said, it wasn't what I set out to be as an educator. Certainly doing a Master's of Public Administration is a bit distanced from that, but it was like I said, it was just a very fortunate series of events that drew me into education. And once I got bit, that was I knew that's where I wanted to be going forward. So,
Cool. One of the things, I mean, it's true of all post-secondary, but I think maybe especially true of colleges, is they're really tightly connected to their communities. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you kind of led led Northwest in kind of improving the opportunities for folks in the Northwest. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, having been in the role that I have now, it's it's a very rewarding and fulfilling opportunity to look to build the communities and to support the education and the opportunities that are needed there. And so, that interface, looking at Northwest College, there are 26 individual First Nations in the region that the college serves. And so that creates a really exciting dynamic in terms of overall student population, as I'd mentioned, with enrollment being around 61% self-identified First Nation. And so looking to that, there's certainly some very unique aspects of education that are necessary or desired, I should say, for the region. And so I've been very, very fortunate to be able to go out to our First Nations communities, to work with those leaders and to find ways to support what those communities are looking for. And so I think that's one of the biggest pieces that I've learned through this process is that it's easy for a college or an institution to sit back and say, well, we're going to offer a carpentry program every fall. But once I got into the role and got to go out to the communities and have those conversations, it was amazing to really unpack funding schedules. When are dollars available? What are the actual in-need programs? And to shift from an institution driving the bus to say to communities, what are you looking for? Much the same plays out with our local industries, a very dynamic region as well. And looking to we have a campus in Meadow Lake as well as one in North Battleford, and the differences between those regions, there's certainly very different industry, a lot of timber and pulp and different mills up in Meadow Lake, and then down in the Battleford, certainly more agriculture and just on the fringe of the oil and gas sector there, just across into Alberta. And so, again, much the same approach. I think what I've experienced is being able to speak to individuals to ask, what are the in-demand programs? And again, I think it's a dangerous trap to guess or to assume that we've always had success offering certain programs and those need to be continued. And so the opportunities to build that out, but in my role now as well, looking to health, and we've talked a little bit about that, and Northwest College does have a very significant health training program for a variety of professions, all of the nursing, all the way from continuing care assistants, all the way up to registered nurses, psychiatric nurses, licensed practical nurses are all available, paramedic program. And so again, looking at the area, very, very high need for professionals to support health. Very large hospitals in North Battleford as well. And so the ability to offer those and to train, and with my background coming from health, the ability to invest in the college in developing things like its simulation learning center, and partnering with Synovus Energy to have that funded and supported and built out, and certainly with the province of Saskatchewan's contributions as well. It's fascinating to be able to pull those pieces together to look to how programs can be delivered, how they can be responsive to regional need, while also providing, for the overall province as well in terms of shortages and in-demand professions. So.
This is a question that gives me pause. You did have it in advance. The reason it gives me pause is presidents of everything, but maybe especially presidents of educational institutions are optimists. So I'm worried what you're going to put in this, wondering what you're going to put in this bucket. But what challenges have you encountered as you've advocated for this and advocated for education in Northwest Saskatchewan?
No, absolutely. Anything is not without its challenges, and so there's certainly barriers and pieces that do come forward. I think some of the dynamics, and again, looking at the overall environment that we're in with post-secondary education, like I said, scarce resources, financing, things of that nature are all challenges. And from every institution, from every community's perspective, from every industry's perspective, there's certainly merit in the various asks that come forward. And so it's complicated to try to work through and to promote and to push for pieces that really need to come forward. And so we've been quite fortunate in Northwest, to really be working and looking to the province and to look to the future in terms of what can be brought forward. And so I would say one of the big challenges that we've been working on lately is looking to future-focused careers. And so what are those opportunities that are available? And so I'm very pleased to say that Northwest College has partnered with Saskatchewan Research Council and is providing some foundational micro-credentialing skills with things like PVC welding, looking to smelting programs, and careers and work that aren't, like I said, aren't traditional, aren't something that's being offered every fall as they come forward. And so one of the big challenges is to look to that, and it's tempting to kind of do what's always been done. And like I said, with budgets and different resources, it's hard to strike out and to engage in new projects, new programming, and things of that nature. And so that's certainly been a big challenge. And sometimes as well, there's things on the horizon that are coming that for education and different careers and labor demand that aren't common knowledge or aren't completely out there. I did mention smelting, and I think smelting hasn't changed in I'm going to say 500 years, probably. Maybe it's more, maybe a little less, but that's not something that you would commonly hear, that regional college is looking to develop a smelting program, and that's directly related to electric vehicles and the rare earth minerals that are necessary to support that work. And so looking to those opportunities and how best to partner with others are certainly challenges as well. As I'd mentioned, there's always a limited pie when you're trying to slice it. And so what we do at Northwest College is to look to opportunities with our partners, whether it's First Nations or other communities, to bring forward those educational pieces and to advance that opportunity for others. And so we've been quite fortunate in that regard. We've really been striving to align quite closely with our two respective ministries. So in post-secondary, certainly in the regional college sector, advanced education and the Ministry of Immigration and Career Training are the two big funders and the two big providers. And so I wouldn't say that it creates tension, but it does create some dynamics between those two worlds in terms of programming and focus and how best to support that. But like I said, there's always challenges, but I do think it's been a very, very positive experience, and the synergies that come with that, the opportunities to work together to build on different pieces to support that type of education and that type of advancement. Because one of the things that we like to say in Northwest, and it's not a phrase that we can take ownership for, but education is the new buffalo, and I think that's been a significant piece of understanding for us at the college. To look at it to say, the buffalo used to provide the people of Turtle Island with everything they needed, and so shifting now or pivoting to look at education and fulfilling that role as well as is also very significant. And like I said, how can we use education differently to drive that forward? And so, whether it's academic upgrading for things like adult basic education, looking to micro credentials, diplomas, degrees, all the way through. There's a great deal of opportunities, but there's certainly challenges that come with that in terms of how best to achieve all those outcomes. And if I could just one more quick one in terms of challenges, is that there's so much that we would like to do at Northwest College to put out programs, but we can only deliver so many. We've only got so many instructors, and being in rural Saskatchewan, that creates some of its own challenges to bring in educators to provide that, and especially when we're looking to future focused professions and opportunities, it's certainly more challenging to bring them to an area like Meadow Lake or North Battleford for sure. So
I want to kind of pull on that future focused language a little bit. I think the economy and the demographics of rural Saskatchewan is at a really kind of transformational place right now. There's a lot of change. That means a lot of opportunities. What kind of long-term goals and aspirations do you have? You've kind of spoken to how important place is for you, and if we're thinking of 10 years or 15 years, what do you think is possible, and what are you doing to try and help people get there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it'll sound a bit superficial in a sense here, but I'll expand on it a little bit here. But one of our big goals at Northwest College is to have a new campus constructed in the Battlefords, and what that provides, and we're very pleased the provincial government has provided $250,000 in funding to support the development of that plan in terms of what a campus would actually look like in the region. But that is certainly one of our our big goals and our big aspirations is to bring in, you know, a truly modern facility with the ability for us at Northwest College to not only pivot quickly between programs, and so as a regional college, we are very responsive in terms of our programming, and we partner with a number of institutions, the U of R being one as well. So, you know, whether it's social work or looking to business programs and different transfers and pathways, those create opportunities. But the big piece of the infrastructure for us is it creates a a pride in learning, if I could say that. And sometimes when we're in rural areas, it may not be a optimal location that a learner's in, and sometimes those are leased spaces and different locations that are quite challenging. And so when you compare that to the University of Regina, University of Saskatchewan, and even Sask Polytechnic for that matter, those do create some discrepancies, I guess, in terms of the overall learning environment. And I'm not trying to say that it's not a good environment, because we have one of the world-class simulation learning center at our Battlefords campus, and we've invested in a number of different pieces like that to provide that pride. But again, looking to the rural and the First Nation, to be able to learn in a positive space that's exciting, that you're motivated, that you want to come to school in, I think is one of the big pieces for us. To bring that forward, to show that yes, we've aligned our programs and that we're supporting the labor market. As you'd mentioned, there's a lot happening in rural Saskatchewan, and talking to industry, I know there's a number of plans for different industries to come into the various cities as well. And so again, looking to the future and how best do we support that. And then, again, looking at what we have for available space and how do we make that work, for the future of the Northwest. As I'd mentioned, there's 26 First Nations, and there is a very high demand for knowledge and for learning. I made the analogy with the education being the new Buffalo, and the potential and the opportunity that is coming. We can see that on the horizon for Northwest and for other regional colleges as well. But it's particularly pronounced in the Northwest region of the province. And so to have that infrastructure in place, the educational opportunities, we're really excited. And then within that as well, looking to the programs that we offer and how best do we meet the current labor force, but also what is the future, what do those jobs look like for individuals.
So I will warn the audience, I have one last scripted question. And then unless they decide to step up, I'm likely to go completely rogue, and that can be a dangerous and entertaining thing. So please get yourselves ready to ask some questions. The last one I had is, you've been both dean at a college and president at a college. How did that role how did that shift play out for you? They're quite different roles, although maybe to an outsider not quite as visible. I mean, basically from management to kind of a very external facing sort of gig.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and again, certainly been a very fulfilling pathway for myself. And so the opportunity to be a dean, and specifically a dean for health and human services, was a great fit for my professional background and my experience. And it's something that I carried forward to the college that I worked at in Alberta, which was Keano College. And again, looking to the opportunities to how best to support that type of programming. And so it was a very exciting piece, but it was also very, very focused into that I guess sliver of the overall college and its programming. And so again, not to belabor the point, but it was a lot of collaboration with my other colleagues that were whether it was deans for trade or business or undergraduate programming and things like that. The opportunity to work together and to learn together as well was very significant. But operationally, it had a very different focus. Again, looking to those the programs that were in my portfolio and to looking to support those and to grow them. And so, again, working with different teams as well, whether it was the nursing faculty, the social work faculty, the early childhood education faculty, and others. It was really great dynamic to learn a bit more and to expand my knowledge. But again, as I mentioned, it was very very operational to those programs. And so having moved into this role now as a president for a college, it is definitely very outward facing. So bulk of my time is now spent going out to, like I said, whether it's First Nations, going to different industry partners, and even liaising with the government to be able to have these conversations and to find out what are priorities and what is happening and what's going on, and then to be able to look to the institution and shift resources and to support the growth and development in various areas. And that's been a very rewarding piece. I think of some of the work that we've done to support First Nations and rural learners is a simple piece of transportation and childcare. Those are two huge fundamental barriers that students face at the regional colleges. And so historically, when I was dean, that would have been, perhaps a problem I carried forward to, for an executive director of another department and said, hey, we got to figure out a way to do this and work together to support that. Whereas, in the role of president, it's much more strategic in terms of, advocating and emphasizing those pieces of learning that go forward. And actually, this morning I was having a conversation with the board chair for Northwest College as well, and we were talking about sort of routine enrollment numbers and different metrics that we have, and we really delved into success rates and what does that look like for students, and how does attrition factor into that. And so with those pieces, again, tying that back to the comments around the barriers of childcare and transportation, it's amazing from this perspective in the chair I'm in now, to see how much effort and how much time needs to be devoted to that and resources to support that to achieve the outcome. It's not a simple fix, or there would be a quick and easy formula to support students to have those successes, and it needs to be very individualized as well. And so I'm fortunate now in my role as president to be able to go out, and whether it's a particular First Nation, maybe it's Soto or Sweetgrass or Thunderchild or one of the groups, and to have discussions about, is that something that the nation can support with transportation to bring students to the campus, or if we're bringing programming out, which is becoming more and more common because it's able to address both of those pieces. And so from that perspective, it's certainly very much more encompassing to look at that, the overall college perspective. Our Meadow Lake campus has a residence as well. And so working as a dean, there were certainly residences at the college I worked at, but fortunately I didn't have to manage too much of that. And so now, looking to all of the pieces that come together to make the college experience are, they are important. And it's really about maintaining that strategic focus of what direction, what are we trying to accomplish. And I'm a very big proponent of you are what you measure. And so that's another element of it, is figuring out what metrics actually, what do those align with for your values, and how does that support the overall mission of the college and what it's attempting to achieve. And so for us, looking to rural and First Nations learners, obviously trying to support everybody's opportunities, but those are significant pieces and significant opportunities as well to engage with and to support that, whether it's fundraising or, like I said, allocating and then meeting with our team of executives to figure out how best to achieve those outcomes. So that's certainly operational to strategic is the big shift in roles. So
cool. Audience, any questions or follow-ups or quizzical puzzles you'd like to ask? I saw Kathy Rock had to just step away, or I would have teased her into asking a question.
Oh, yeah, we've had a great working relationship with Kathy, and tremendous success with the social work program. So,
well, I never went to auctioneer college. Otherwise, I'd be tempted to try and close down balloting. But maybe one last just kind of question. I mean, I think I'm kind of curious. Being at a university, I think of indigenization in a particular way. I'm curious what it looks like in kind of a trades perspective, where an apprenticeship is already so much more of a kind of personal, hands-on type of relationship. How are you changing not just the delivery, but the inner workings of programs?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Jim, and I'll probably chew up the remainder of our time here because I've got a lot I'd like to say about that. And so, One of the first things that I undertook when I came to Northwest College was looking to establish an indigenization charter. Again, I was very, very excited for the opportunity to come to Northwest College because of the student demographics and the the real opportunity and impact that this role could have. Looking at economic reconciliation, socioeconomic development, and those types of pieces. And so through that, we did bring on a consultant to engage with our communities. And as I'd mentioned, I've had a number of conversations, but we did want somebody neutral or kind of independent from the college to go out and engage with the communities and have a conversation. And again, I talked a little bit earlier about assuming programs are necessary and timing of programming. And so that's where our bringing on a consultant to support us with that work was it really pushed away any of those biases that we might have had, or thoughts about positive working relationships or negative working relationships with different communities. And so it was really eye-opening to see some of the pieces that for myself as a coming from very Eurocentric third generation settler mentality, I didn't perceive some of the issues or challenges or opportunities for that matter. And so looking at things as simple as role modeling and how important that is for students. And so to tie that in with some of the trades work, what we've been able to do with our students is that we try to create opportunities where they can bring their family, they can bring their children, they can bring whomever to the college, or through some of our partnerships with industry, we've been able to send students down to Saskatoon as well. And it's exciting, but it's also a bit sad at the same time that some people they've never been able to get off of their nation or to have those opportunities. And so to be able to role model and to show that whomever it is from the community can be successful, and what that looks like, as I said, from my perspective, that's not something that I would have assumed or guessed was so critical. And so looking to ways that we can engage that through our indigenization charter and just through conversation is really where all of these things come from, is actually talking and taking the time to listen. Now it is formalized into a larger charter, as I'd mentioned, but it's meant to be a very dynamic process. So like I said, working with our trades and some of the work that we've done, we've also been taking programming out to the nations where it can occur on the community and in buildings with the opportunity for ceremony and for other pieces. And again, I'm certainly not sitting here claiming to be an expert on any one culture. And there's certainly cultural differences between the various nations as well. And so that approach opens up the doors to be able to get into education and to not have to worry about maybe childcare, transportation, and different pieces, but it creates those opportunities and allows Northwest College to be responsive. So whether it's heading out to maybe Mosquito First Nation to offer a plumbing program, like I said, the supports, the resources, the elders, it's available, it's in the community, and it becomes a community program. And that then leads into the successes for the communities where many nations are looking to set up a plumbing company. Again, I talked about shortages of healthcare workers. Certainly there's a very big shortage of trades professionals as well. And so the opportunity to work with that and to support industry on the various communities are very important. Talking about listening and different ways to move forward. And that's where, this has been very beneficial to the college and beneficial to our relationship to show our community members, and I'm saying that broadly, not just First Nations partners, but to hear and to respond to what are some of the asks. And I think to tie in a little bit to the previous question, the opportunity as a president is to be able to move that. You get a little bit of veto power from time to time, and so you can nudge things along and to support different initiatives, and it's been very, very, very fulfilling in that regard. And it's certainly transitioned as well for Northwest College with the success and enrollments that our institution has seen coming out of COVID, where most post-secondary institutions struggled with with that rebound and then kind of getting back to strong numbers. But again, really focusing on the population we serve, engaging and listening and providing meaningful responses to that. As I said, it's tempting to think, well, let's put up medicine wheels, but that really is tokenism. It's not going to have the impact that you want. And so having those conversations, inquiring about what's necessary and looking to provide, whether it's education in the community or the resources to be successful, is is one of those opportunities to move forward with indigenization to support our learners. And so, there are some tangible kind of examples, whether it's looking at teepee design for ventilation and things like that. But from my perspective, indigenization goes so much further than kind of like I said, a bit of not to say that it's necessarily tokenism, but we to truly listen and to respond to what are the needs. And it's it is about being good to one another, and it's no different than talking to industry who's got money to invest in, perhaps supporting a different construction of another phase of a building or things like that. We need to listen and we need to respond to what those needs and wishes are, and to see the success of the students. So,
well, thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation today, and sure the audience has too. So thank you for the time and the insight and sharing some of your story. Oh, here we go. We do have one question. Mimia, thank you. You mentioned the challenge of transport in remote areas. I'm sorry, Nimi, I'm not quite sure if I understand the question. Could you maybe ask it again?
Well, maybe while we're waiting for a bit more clarity on that, I'll speak maybe a little bit to flexible delivery options. I think that's certainly a pertinent piece. And so looking to the regional colleges model, there are some differences in the way that programming is delivered. A lot of that is through brokerages with other institutions, as I'd mentioned, partnerships with the U of R for social work, looking to Sask Polytechnic for different trades programs and things of that nature. So there are some some stipulations or kind of rules around how that works and what can be offered online. But certainly the online component that COVID has taught us, and we're all here online as well today, that there are opportunities that can be delivered in that fashion. And so we do look to online learning as well to support students. And so we have a very, very popular basic education delivery option where we do instruction that's online, that supports some various facets of that program and a few others as well. And so being able to offer programming in that way is certainly beneficial. But the only, I guess, the caveat around that a little bit is just that not all learners want to learn that way. And so that's part of what we have to strike a balance with in instruction. And the big thing that I think that a lot of people have learned through COVID and remote work is that it's also very important to be set up in a way that an individual can learn and be successful in learning. And so the online learning does open that opportunity to study at home, perhaps, but we hear a lot from students and that they might not have a desk or a proper location to sit at. Wi-Fi and internet capability used to be a pretty significant barrier for rural and remote areas, but that's really kind of going to the backstage now as more and more areas become connected. And we can thank Elon Musk and others for the availability of Wi-Fi now. But those preparatory pieces and being in a situation where you can be successful is still a challenge. And so absolutely online learning opens that door. We just need to make sure that those the other pieces that are necessary for success are met as well to bridge that. So,
well, thank you, everybody. I hope you do all have a good afternoon. The alumni folks asked me to make two minor plugs. One is actually three. One is, of course, that to keep an eye out for this on our website and various social media channels that announce events and all of that. The next Alumni Effect speaker will be June 18th, and will feature Jake Sinclair, who's an Indigenous entrepreneur and lifelong learner. And then finally, the U of R turns 50 this year, and so there will be lots of exciting stuff starting later in the summer and through the fall. So keep an eye out for that. Being a university alumni member is really being part of an ongoing conversation, and so today is one mode of that, but there's lots of others coming. So thank you for your time, Eli. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.